My name is Natalia Hart. And on the day of my sister's wedding, I learned the truth, loud and clear. I stood at the entrance of the Hallbridge Country Estate, the same estate I had helped design from the ground up for this very event. The floral installations were my vision. The custom menus, my design. Even the monogram shimmering in gold foil across the entry wall. Mine. And yet, the staff member at the check-in table didn't smile when I approached. He looked down at his iPad and said, "Name. Natalia Hart," I said gently, holding onto Grace. "I'm the bride's sister." He frowned, scrolled, tapped, then looked up again. "Sorry, ma'am, you're not on the guest list." For a moment, I stood still. Frozen. That wasn't an oversight, it was a message. I turned, scanning the opulent hallway. My mother, Elizabeth, stood tall and elegant in a custom navy blue gown near the ballroom entrance. When she saw me, her expression didn't shift. Not even a flicker. "Mom," I called softly, walking closer. "They said I'm not on the list." She tilted her head, glanced lazily at the staffer like he was the problem, then looked back at me, expression blank. Cold. "Did you really think you were invited?" She asked in a low voice. "You're not family, Natalia. You're the vendor. You've done your part." My heart didn't break. It unhooked. It let go of any last hope I had that maybe, just maybe, they saw me. I nodded slowly, swallowing down the ache. "Then I'll live like a vendor," I said, my voice steady. "Unpaid, of course." I turned and walked away. No scene, no scream, just silence. I passed the marble pillars. The champagne bar with my handwritten signature on the cocktail menus. The photo wall guests were gushing over, centered with Lucis and her new husband's initials, designed in the style I sketched out 3 months ago. I kept walking, past it all, into the heavy summer air that clung to my skin like disappointment. My heels clicked sharply across the stone. Every step hurt, but it also freed me. You don't get erased in a single moment. It happens slowly. One missed text, one forgotten birthday, one family photo without you in it. Until they stop pretending you ever mattered at all. That day, I stopped pretending too. Growing up, Lucy was the sun in our home. The firstborn. Loud, dazzling, magnetic. Wherever she stood, the spotlight followed. And our mother, Elizabeth, made sure it stayed right there, on her. I didn't hate her for it. I just assumed that was how families worked. Some kids shine, others just exist. The only person who ever really saw me was my dad, Desmond Hart. He was a quiet man, an art teacher with paint always under his nails and poetry in his pockets. He framed my first sketch and hung it in his reading nook, right next to his jazz collection. That moment, it told me I was enough. But he died when I was 13. A stroke during an after-school workshop. Lucy was 16. From that day on, Mom only looked in one direction. She dressed Lucy up for mother-daughter luncheons. Took her shopping for matching heels. Called her, her little legacy. And I became the shadow behind their sparkle. But here's what no one noticed. I built something for myself. I started my design business at 22. Every bride who walked through my doors left glowing. I built this wedding from vision to reality, and still, I wasn't enough for my own mother. But that day outside the estate, I chose myself. No more begging to be seen. No more shrinking to fit. And maybe they'll never understand what they lost. But I do. The giving will turn into belonging. But it didn't. Not when I hand-delivered the final guest welcome boxes to Lucy's condo and she barely looked up from her phone. Not when Elizabeth, my own mother, stood in the middle of the reception rehearsal and loudly praised the floral designer, who I had coordinated and negotiated down in price, saying, "It's nice when real professionals get involved." I wanted to scream. I wanted to pull every printed sign off the walls and every napkin off the tables. But I didn't. I told myself, they're just stressed. This is Lucy's big day. Be supportive. Be the bigger person. Asterisk. Then came the seating chart fiasco. It was just 2 days before the wedding, and Elizabeth called me while I was grabbing coffee between client meetings. "Natalia," she said without greeting, "the Hallbridges requested some adjustments to the front table." Can you shift Annalisa and Trevor to the center and push our side family friends to the next table? I paused. You mean our family friends are getting moved behind the Halbridges' real estate partners? Yes, she said breezily. It's more polished that way. Less clutter. Clutter. She meant us. Our friends. My people. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say no. But I said, fine. Because that's what I had always done. Folded myself neatly into the edges, behind Luce's spotlight and Elizabeth's ambitions. I stayed up that night reprinting everything, cutting fresh tent cards by hand, remapping the ballroom layout for the 100th time. When I dropped off the materials at the venue the next morning, the coordinator barely made eye contact. Just leave it over there, she said, waving toward a pile of vendor boxes. I placed each item down gently, every printed piece I had poured hours of love into, on top of a cheap stack of giveaway fans someone else had ordered last minute. That night, I sat alone in my apartment with my phone in my lap. Not one message, not one thank you, and still, I laid out my dress for the wedding. Steamed it, polished my shoes. Because I was going. Because even if they didn't see me, I still wanted to see it through. The morning of the wedding, the estate was buzzing. Caterers rushing, bridesmaids squealing, Elizabeth barking orders with the intensity of a military commander. I slipped in quietly. My invitation had never arrived, but I was expected, right? That was when the check-in staffer looked me dead in the eye and said, "Sorry ma'am, you're not on the guest list." And when I turned and looked into that hallway, into my mother's face, and saw nothing there but convenience and calculation, I finally understood. I had been useful, never loved, and I had spent over a decade trying to earn space in a family who had already decided I was invisible. Received a revised version of the chart. Table 18. Guests. Annalisa, two of Luce's old college roommates I'd only met once, and some plus ones I didn't recognize. No title, no role, no note beside my name. Just, Natalia Hart, like I was an afterthought in a wedding I had built from scratch. I stared at it for a long time. My laptop open on the dining table, my untouched dinner going cold beside me. Something inside me was unraveling, and I couldn't stop it this time. That night, I called my mother. Elizabeth answered on the third ring. Yes, Natalia, no warmth, not even fake sweetness. I tried to sound light. I just saw the updated seating chart. Lucy said I'd be at table 18. With her college friends. Elizabeth was quiet for a beat, then replied, that's where she had space. You weren't going to be sitting much anyway, right? I wasn't asked to coordinate anything, I said. I'm not the wedding planner. Well, she exhaled, annoyed. You're involved. You've been involved. I don't see the issue. The issue is, I stopped myself. What was the issue? That I was hurt. That once again, I was being tolerated, not included. Elizabeth's tone turned sharp. Look, it's Luce's day. Let's not make this about you. I held the phone to my ear, my eyes stinging. I'm not making it about me, I whispered. I'm just tired of being invisible in a family I gave everything to. She didn't respond, not for a long moment. Then she said, coolly, maybe that's how you feel. But that's not how it is. I laughed under my breath, bitterly. Isn't it? I hung up, not because I was angry, but because I knew I wouldn't get what I needed. Not from her, not from Lucy. The next morning, a thick envelope appeared at my door. No note, no message, just one of the formal wedding invitations I had designed and printed myself. My own work, mailed to me last minute. Like a patch on a wound they didn't know they'd opened. I opened it slowly, held the heavy card in my hands. It felt hollow. The night before the wedding, I arrived at the estate early. Not as a guest, not as a sister, as a worker, again. Lucy was getting her makeup done in the bridal suite. The room was buzzing with bridesmaids, stylists, champagne. She saw me in the mirror and smiled slightly. Oh, hey, did you finish the signage? I nodded. It's all set up downstairs. She didn't get up, didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was. Just sipped her mimosa and went back to chatting with Annalisa about lip gloss shades. I stood there for another moment, unsure why I'd come. hoping for something, recognition, gratitude, maybe just warmth. But I was already fading into the wallpaper again. So I left. "Oh, hi," she said, eyes flicking behind her. "Did someone order coffee or something?" I blinked. "No, I'm Natalia, Luce's sister." "Oh," she dragged out the word like it tasted unfamiliar. "Right, come in, I guess." She didn't hold the door open wider. I stepped in anyway. The room was loud with chatter and curling irons. Bridesmaids draped in matching silk robes lounged around with champagne flutes, mascara wands in hand. The photographer was crouched near the window capturing candids. And in the center of it all, Lucy sat, glowing. She glanced up from her makeup chair, mirror lights reflecting in her eyes. "Oh hey," she said casually. "Didn't know you were coming up. I just wanted to check on everything downstairs," I said softly. "The signage, menus, welcome table." Lucy nodded once, distracted. "Yeah, cool, thanks." I waited, maybe for a smile, a hug, some acknowledgement. Instead, she turned back to the mirror. One of the bridesmaids whispered something in her ear, and Lucy laughed loudly. I stood there for another few seconds, pretending to glance around the suite like I belonged there. Like I hadn't just walked into a room full of women who didn't know my name, who didn't need to know my name. I turned to go. As I reached for the doorknob, Luce's voice floated behind me. "Hey, Natalia." I paused, my heart tugging toward her. "Yeah, can you grab more safety pins?" Vanessa said. The dress steamer knocked over the bag. I nodded, "Sure." And just like that, I was the help again. I walked back down those marble stairs slower than before. The weight of my emerald dress felt heavier now, like fabric sewn with invisible threads of shame. In the hallway, I passed guests beginning to trickle in. Polished couples in tailored suits. Laughter, perfume, heels clicking like rhythm on the marble floor. A few people glanced at me with polite confusion. My name tag wasn't pinned to a clipboard, and I wasn't holding a guest program. I was between worlds. Too polished to be staff. Too dismissed to be family. At the bottom of the stairs, I saw Annalisa holding a clipboard, checking something off. She was the official planner. I was just the shadow. She looked up. "Oh, hi. Did you finish those menus?" "There. Done," I said quietly. "Everything's set." "Great." She flashed a perfect smile. "You're a lifesaver." But no one asked if I was okay. Back in the side hallway behind the ballroom, I stopped near the coat closet, tucked out of sight. I took a deep breath. In my tote bag, I felt the corner of the wedding gift, the silver frame I had polished and engraved. Still wrapped, still waiting. I looked at the floor, then at my hands. They were shaking. All this effort, all this love poured into the details. And not one moment of being seen. Not family today, Natalia. Your staff. That word, staff. It landed like a slap I'd already seen coming, but it still stung like fresh betrayal. I blinked. "What? Margot?" "No." Elizabeth folded her arms neatly across her gown, her diamond bracelet catching the evening light. "You did an excellent job," she said, like I was a caterer she barely remembered hiring. "But today is for family. For Lucy. I hope you understand." My throat burned, but I managed to speak. "I bought a dress. I gave a gift. I've spent the last 6 months." Elizabeth tilted her head, smile unchanged. "And we're so grateful, but there's no seat for you." I turned toward Vanessa, who now looked anywhere but at me. I need a place to sit," I whispered. "Please." She sighed, uncomfortable. "Maybe we can find a spot near the vendor meal section, just for dinner, if that's okay." I opened my mouth, then closed it. This wasn't just about a seat. It was about who I was to them. "Nothing." I nodded once. "Forget it." I turned around and walked away. Outside, the late summer air wrapped around me like a heavy shawl. Cicadas hummed in the trees. Laughter floated from the ballroom windows like perfume I couldn't afford. I stood near the valet station, holding the silver wedding gift in one hand, my clutch in the other. Then I looked down at the frame. Polished, engraved, bought with my own money. Thoughtfully wrapped. My fingerprint was on everything, but my name had been erased from all of it. A valet approached gently. "Miss, do you need your car brought up?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I stepped to the nearby table where wedding gifts were being placed in a decorative cart. I stared at it, then quietly, carefully, placed my gift on the ground beside it. Not inside, not where it would be admired. Just where it would be overlooked, like me. Then I whispered, "That's the last thing you'll get from me." Still felt like mine. Not what was expected, not what I kept to please them, but what still belonged to me. At first, I didn't know where to start. I had boxes stacked in my closet from old apartments and jobs, each one taped shut like it held too many sharp memories. But one quiet Sunday morning, I pulled them out. Box by box. The first few were practical, college notebooks, sketches, tax forms. But then, near the bottom, I opened a box that smelled like old paper and pencil shavings. Inside, I found a sketchbook with paint smudges along the spine. My name was written on the inside cover in bright purple marker. Natalia Hart, age 9. The first page was a drawing of a house. Not our house, something warmer, smaller. A tree in the front yard. A small cat on the windowsill. I had drawn myself in the corner with a speech bubble. "Look, I made this." That drawing, it didn't beg to be seen. It just existed. That's when I cried. Not over the wedding, not over Lucy, but over that little girl who used to believe her work was worth looking at. Dr. Ritter called it identity reclamation. It started small. I posted one of my older invitation designs online, redesigning it without the Hallbridge name or their colors, just how I wanted it to look. I added a caption that said, "When your art is treated like a favor instead of a craft, remember, it still belongs to you." The post got shared. A lot. And within days, inquiries started coming in. One bride wrote, "I heard you did that high society wedding at Hallbridge. I saw your style all over it. I want you to design mine, but this time, your name will be on every piece." I sat with that message for a full hour before replying. Then I said, "Let's talk." I didn't tell Lucy. I didn't tell Elizabeth. Not because I was hiding, but because for once, they weren't the audience. Months passed. I said yes to new clients and no to anything that looked like obligation dressed in guilt. I bought new business cards. Simple cream stock, gold ink. Natalia Hart, creative director, founder. No vendor title, no fine print. Just me. One morning, I opened my email to find a new message. Subject: apology. It was from Lucy. "Natalia, I know I hurt you. I've been meaning to say something, but I didn't know how to face you after the wedding. I was overwhelmed, and Mom, she made so many decisions, and I didn't push back the way I should've. I'm sorry, I really am. You didn't deserve that. None of it. Can we talk?" I read it 3 times. Then shut my laptop. I wasn't angry. I just didn't know if I had space in my new life for someone who had only seen me when it was convenient. But in my own name printed on every program, every table card, every invitation that guests would admire and say, "Who designed this?" I arrived at the Hallbridge country estate on a soft spring morning, a year after the wedding that nearly erased me. This time, I didn't park in the guest lot. I parked in the reserved vendor space with a sign bearing my name. Natalia Hart, lead designer, NH Studio. I walked in through the main entrance. Not the side door, not the back hallway near the coat room. I wore a tailored suit in soft cream, not because I needed to impress anyone, but because it made me feel sharp, whole. Annalisa, yes, the same planner from Lucy's wedding, met me at the ballroom door. She didn't look confused this time. She smiled wide and held out her hand. "Natalia," she said, her tone almost reverent. "Everything looks stunning. I'm so glad we're working together again." "So am I said simply. She didn't recognize it, but those 3 words meant more than she could ever guess. The event unfolded perfectly. The bride beamed. The groom wept. Guests whispered in admiration over the details. The floral border on the menus, the hand-painted signage, the illustrated vineyard map that made even the valet smile. I floated through the space, not unseen but respected. A professional, an artist, a name people said out loud, and spelled correctly. Near the end of the night, as I packed up leftover materials, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned and saw Lucy. She looked nervous, unsure. Dressed in navy blue again, her hair swept up. But this time, she looked smaller somehow. "Hey," she said quietly. "Hey," I replied, calm but distant. "I saw your name on the signage," she added. "And in the magazine. You've really built something." "I have," I said. She hesitated. "I don't know how to apologize for what happened. I'm not even sure I should. I just wanted you to know I see it now. What you've done, who you are." I nodded. I wasn't bitter, but I didn't need her apology to stand here. I already had everything she hadn't given me. "I appreciate that," I said. "But I've already forgiven you. That part of my life is closed." She swallowed, nodded, "Okay," and then she stepped back into the crowd, where she belonged. And I stepped into the light, finally, exactly where I belonged. If Natalia's story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's keep uplifting the voices that refuse to be erased. Your support means everything. It helps us tell more stories that matter.